left. Old Dominion, East Carolina. We've got ECU here, 12.5-point home favorites at home against Old Dominion, 50.5 the total in this one. And just an absolutely excruciating loss for East Carolina against NC State, where if they have a kicker that is able to do his job properly, they probably beat NC State. And instead, missed field goal at the end, a missed extra point right before that would have tied the game at 21. I mean, just beyond gut-wrenching. And now it's the job of Mike Houston to try to get this team amped up again for another big game here after just a crushing loss against NC State, where they had a million chances to win and the kicking game let them down. And it just ruined what was a sparkling defensive performance throughout that game, and especially in the second half by East Carolina. I mean, they shut down NC State's offense, didn't do a thing in the second half of that game. A couple of goal line stands as well. I mean, NC State kept getting short fields because they were stopping East Carolina's offense deep in their own territory, and then East Carolina was stopping them at the goal line. And please, for the love of God, I've got to rant about this a little bit. And NC State did this, and I'm still seeing it on 4th and short. Florida State got into trouble doing this against LSU. Can we stop with shotgun on 4th and 1 and 4th and goal from the 1-yard line? Can we stop with the quarterback lined up in the shotgun? Can we stop? It's ridiculous. It's totally absurd. What happened to putting the quarterback under center and just letting him just dive into the end zone head first for a touchdown? Nice and simple. Nice and easy. You already put yourself behind the 8 ball, lined up with the quarterback in shotgun, 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage when you need 1 yard at the goal line. Do you know how asinine that is? And yet coaches still do this shit. And it's constant, and it's got to stop. It's got to end, especially when you're seeing teams just screw it up like NC State did when they went shotgun, 4th and goal at the 1. When Florida State fumbled what should have been the end of the game against LSU on Sunday night in a shotgun snap at the goal line. It's enough. It's simple. Put the quarterback under center and sneak the ball over the goal line. It's not complicated. This isn't rocket science. This isn't brain surgery. We should be able to put our brains together, screw in, and figure this shit out. Anyway, that's enough of that. Old Dominion. They are in just as much, Conor Mack, a bet against spot, as in my opinion, as East Carolina going into this game. East Carolina, a brutal loss for them, but Old Dominion's coming off one of the biggest wins they'll have, beating Virginia Tech. Now, it's not Virginia Tech that is like they used to be in terms of how good they are, but a huge win. To me, these are two teams I'd probably want to bet against in a spot like this, and I'm not sure I can pick one to bet against. But, Conor, this is a game that you specifically wanted on the list today because you had an angle and you had something you wanted to mention about it. What are you thinking here, ODU, ECU?
Yeah, well, we talked about it. I was worried last week of Old Dominion. That's why I wasn't all over it. I wanted more than a touchdown. Obviously, they took care of business at the 6th there. When they went up against better competition, they lost. You know, they would get beat up. And they didn't play great teams down the stretch, obviously. That's just their schedule. But they played well. And we mentioned all those Voltech turnovers. 5 turnovers, Wells, 5 of 16 and 3rd down, all the penalties. So this one was interesting to me because I thought they played good enough on defense. Can they do that here? I don't know if they cover the number, but I like the under because I was so impressed with East Carolina's defense. They were just as good or better than NC State, which basically was 15th in the country last year, and they moved the ball. So I think they'll be able to move it. Where they cover this, 11.5, I'm not so sure. I think they win, but I think this is a good football game, and Old Dominion can hang around. But I like the under here, 52.5.
Right, liking the under here, points to be at a premium. I can get on board with that. I think East Carolina's got one hell of a defense potentially this year. What they did in the second half against NC State was impressive. And I'm still not a big fan of Holton Ahlers, to be quite honest with you, and the offense. It's a solid offense. It's not an explosive offense. It's not a dynamic offense necessarily. So I think it's an East Carolina team that's probably going to be more reliant on defense. And we saw Old Dominion, actually defensively played well, but the offense was spotty, and they struggled to move the ball at times against Virginia Tech, especially much of that game until the fourth quarter. if East Carolina's defense plays like it did last week, it could be tough for Old Dominion to be marching the football up and down the field. So
Yeah.
might be onto something, Connor, with that under. I think that might be a good look there.